Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast. Boy, will this be weird here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live on this sunny side Thursday. Really used to summer. This is the CHGO White Sox podcast. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. Welcome in to the CHGO White Sox podcast. I am your host, Sean Anderson. Typically, over the past 2.5 plus years, in 2025, it would have been 3 years, I was joined by the full CHGO White Sox crew, being Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. Unfortunately, along with Ryan Herrera of CHGO Cubs, Greg Boyson of CHGO Blackhawks, Nicholas Moriano of CHGO Bears, along with 2 producers, Lawrence Benedetto, our guy Law Dog, and Nate Poppin, have been let go from their CHGO contracts, and they are no longer a part of the company. Yesterday was an extremely blindsiding day, extremely emotional day, not only for me, Herb and Vinny, but also for you guys. So I am here. If you have any questions, I see every single one of you hanging out in the chat. I will read all of your questions or anything that you want addressed specifically. I'll be talking a little bit about Vinny and Herb in the first segment. In the second segment, there's some Sox news. Matt Thaiss has been acquired from the Chicago Cubs for cash considerations. Chuckie Robinson is now a Los Angeles Angel. And we'll also talk about the new signing of Bryse Wilson. We can even, maybe if we have time, sneak in some Andre Lepicius Trey. I got to figure out how to say his name.
Lepicius?
And that's the one thing that,
Lepicius? I'm just saying hello.
Lipcius.
Lepicians?
Lepicius?
Yeah.
Okay. Vinny was here to usually correct that. So thankfully, he's not here to make sure I'm saying anyone's name correctly. We are being produced today by Sarah.
Hello.
Hello, Sarah. Melissa and William were wondering if Sarah's sitting in. She will, and she'll have thoughts to share. I'm sure she has thoughts on Vinny and Herb as well that we will get to just coming up. If you do feel kind enough, hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Clearly, this is a tough day for all of our CHGO Sports fans. It's a tough day for all of us here at CHGO Sports in general. When we were contacted in March 2022, I was doing Locked On Sox. I just took that over from Herb and Tanny, and we were brought to an apartment complex. I can't even describe it. Maybe it was a business complex, but we met with the heads of ALLCITY, and that was the first time I met Vinny, and it was me, Vinny, Herb, and we really got to meet each other for the first time and kind of picture what this would look like. I think we did a really good job of doing what we set out to accomplish back in 2022. It's extremely disappointing and deflating that our show on Tuesday was the last chance that we were ever going to do a show together in this studio. It saddens me. It saddens me that we didn't even know that it was our last show. I felt like tweeting like Jason Goff and just responding and quote tweeting Herb's goodbye letter with the Will Smith being alone in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house, just, looking around. I don't really know why I, of the 3 CHGO White Sox hosts, am left. I am here with you, and I'm going to be here with you excitingly and proudly covering the Chicago White Sox. It does seem throughout ALLCITY that baseball coverage is going to be deprioritized, and the future of this podcast will likely be 2 to 3 times a week. During the offseason, it will be more dependent on news. During the first 2 years, we've done post-game shows after every single game. I can promise you that those will not look the same and likely will not be as consistent as they used to be. I think that my goal, or at least my planned goal, is to do a series recap after every series finishes up, but I still have to talk with the higher up because it's been like not even 36 hours since this was all finalized and figured out. I think a big part about this show that made us great was Vinnie's ability to be at the ballpark and his ability to be a front-facing person for CHGO at that White Sox clubhouse. And listening to Sox Machine today, I heard from James Fegan, Vinnie's colleague and a part of the beat, and he talked about how Vinnie's a consistent straight shooter, how Vinnie knows what to say without pushing boundaries. He makes people feel comfortable, yet he also doesn't really, toe any lines. If Vinnie has a question that he's going to ask it politely and responsibly. And it was very telling of his work that when James was reaching out to Garrett Crochet to follow up on the news of Garrett going to Boston, Garrett asked, "Hey, I'm surprised Vinnie hasn't reached out yet." And that broke my heart. I think Vinnie would have loved the opportunity to talk to Garrett Crochet. I think he would have loved the opportunity to continue to be here. And a gut punch really doesn't sum it up enough. I have not, since I am young, I have not lost a ton of family members. I've lost my grandma to Alzheimer's, but like even with that type of death, you can kind of rationalize it because this was a person that for a long time was in pain. This feels pretty new to me. They say you don't make it into sports media unless you get fired. So congrats to Herb and Vinnie for getting fired and making it into sports media. Doesn't feel like we made it. Feels like the complete opposite. Feels like we are being shut down. And that really disappoints me. I will not let that happen. I am still a full-time CHGO employee. I will be hosting the CHGO White Sox shows when there are some, and I will still be behind the scenes producing content for CHGO. To talk specifically about the three of us, just real quick, we never got a photo together. I don't think there's a photo of the three of us together. Like there is on set, but we never just stood next to each other and took a photo.
We got stuff at some of the takeovers, I
Did
think.
we?
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll get
right.
Emma
That's good.
to look through some of the files.
I
was going to say, there's no way. I know we have some with you and Herb, though.
Yeah, I think so. But,
Yeah.
Even Vinnie sometimes is just up in the press box. So it does feel incomplete. It felt like there was going to be something that this led up to. It was going to, maybe it would be 10 years from now when Herb thinks that they're going to be competitive. Maybe it would be 10 years from now that this would finally lead to a culminating end. And it's just a balloon being popped. To speak to the people that I worked with, it was so easy to work with Vinnie and Herb on a consistent basis. I would send them the idea of a rundown, but we would not talk much before our shows. The time that we talked about the White Sox was the hour that you saw on this podcast. When we were off the air, we were talking more about Chicago stuff in our lives. It was very easy just to slip into White Sox conversation with them. It's something that when you are being taught broadcasting, sports media, the thing that is hammered home to yourself is to be yourself. Have this conversation feel natural. And we did that. We truly accomplished that. And I know that some people didn't like Vinnie's veracity to tell the White Sox side of the story, but our show wouldn't have been what it was if we had, as someone referred to us on Reddit, it wouldn't have worked if we were three triplets. We were three completely separate human beings. Vinnie brought his own unique flair and personality, and boy did he have, and still does, personality. He's not dead. But he exudes personality, and it's easy to get him to be entertaining even if you don't like what he is communicating to you via the White Sox. Herb Lawrence loves the Chicago White Sox. When I got the chance to be at 670 The Score and he taught me everything I knew about producing, running the board, it was the best just watching White Sox games with him on that tiny TV in the Score production studio. And the fact that my job ended up being for 2.5 years watching baseball with Herb Lawrence, I'm blessed. This is a job that you get to do. This is a job that you get the chance to do, the opportunity to do. I don't think any of us looked it over. And again, the fact that it is over, it's deflating. I know some people have joined us and are aware of the situation. But over the past year, I've had some medical difficulties. When I was a teenager, I was diagnosed with juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. I had like 2 big grand mal seizures that junior year of high school, and then it kind of went away. But recently, it's come back. It's come back pretty strongly. I think I've had like 17-something seizures in the past like 2 years. And that has taken my ability away to drive. Thankfully, I live close enough to the Blue Line. But when it is around 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I just need to get home and I don't want to take the Blue Line, the great person, not even coworker, just friend of Herb Lawrence was always there to drive me home. He was always willing to go out of his way to help me out. And he's just a true, genuinely great person. I know some people don't like his social media persona and the fact that sometimes they get blocked by Herb Lawrence on Twitter. But I bet you, if you are blocked by Herb Lawrence on Twitter, you probably said something that deserves it. He's a person that loves to talk to people. He's a person that it will not turn down a conversation with anyone. There was every single person that worked at the CHGO outfit, all would just go to Herb and have a conversation with him. He is one of the easiest persons to talk to. He's extremely chill. He's extremely laid back. And to have a coworker and then even develop into a friend like that, I'm extremely lucky. Vinnie was an intimidating person for me to start working with because Herb I already knew. I was 25 when I started this job, and Vinnie was a person in the media. He was working at NBC Sports Chicago. He was a beat writer for a team, trusted enough by that team to cover their team. And then even then, transferring that from NBC Sports Chicago to CHGO and doing a wonderful job for 2.5 years. He was a true journalist. He's a true professional. And he taught me so much about trying to be both-sided and have the idea of a full scope, which I think made my opinion stronger. Vinnie made me a better broadcaster. Vinnie made me just a better human-to-human communicator. And I was so lucky to be taught by these two people for as long as it was. And I'm so saddened that that opportunity is getting taken away from us. There was a quote, and I have respect for Brandon Spano deeply. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here, to be talking to the hundreds of you that are watching right now, to the tons of diehards that I've been able to connect with already, that have come out to our events, that are in our Discord. It's been a true blessing for me to have this job. But there was a statement that Brandon said in the Chicago Sun-Times that I've had difficulties kind of dealing with. Brandon said to Jeff Agrest, "Unfortunately, the White Sox are a really tough team to cover. Herb's incredible. He's one of the best talents we've ever had and a great person. Vinnie Duber's as good as a writer as you'll find on a beat. But sometimes you feel like you care more about the White Sox than the White Sox care about the White Sox. So that makes it tough." I understand Brandon's from a CEO standpoint and a bottom line standpoint, but it's tough to hear that from him because I know 3 people that cared immensely about the Chicago White Sox. We had a deep community of diehards and still have a deep community of diehards that are diehards for the Chicago White Sox. I care about the White Sox. You care about the White Sox. I want to not let the ball drop. I was taught by Herb Lawrence and Vinnie Duber how to cover this team. It is my goal to continue to bring you this great coverage each and every day. It won't have the same dynamic, obviously, but I'm an only child and have talked to myself before. So I think I'll be able to get through an hour pretty easily. But we cared so deeply about this podcast. We cared so deeply with connecting to you, the White Sox fans. And I just think that isn't the right thing to say as a CEO. I don't think that that's the right thing when you still do have a White Sox podcast. And as respectfully as I can say, it's disappointing that it's ended up this way. And it's very weird to look back on 2022 and see Tony La Russa's spiral of this team and us pleading with Vinnie like, "Hey, Vinnie, you're at the ballpark. Just please fire him." And obviously Vinnie had no power into that. And Vinnie was just saying, "Hey, Again, remember, he's Jerry Reinsdorf's best friend. But it did feel like that's the death sentence. If this team in 2022 had a really good year, if this team in 2023 was competitive, I think we're still around. And weirdly enough, it's odd to connect all of this back to Tony La Russa and Jerry Reinsdorf. But here we are, and I'm going to blame them for the reason Herb and Vinnie aren't here, because I think that White Sox fans are very passionate, and I think that that passion has been stripped away from them by the owner.
I will say this. It all comes back to Jerry.
It does.
Everything bad that happens in Chicago is because of Jerry.
All right. Sarah, while I do some ad reads on the CHGO White Sox podcast, can you favorite some of these comments? Especially, can you favorite the Connor ones up top? Connor said something really nicely.
I can do that.
And I want to do that. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. Sarah's going to tag any of them, and I'll respond to them coming up here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. For the best way to end 2024, head to Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram and shop the wrap-up year sales event to score some of the year's best savings on new vehicles before the clock strikes 2025. Hurry into Ray CDJR to browse their huge inventory of new vehicles. And right now, celebrate the end of 2024 with $24,000 off MSRP on select new vehicles with a dealer discount. Or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With Ray's price promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you could expect to shop in-store and online. That's because Ray's price promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. So if you are in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Leinenkugel. Leinenkugel is now, Leinenkugel Summer Shandy is now available all year round. It's the perfect companion for any time of the year. While it might snow tonight, you can be reminded of that summer feeling that Jonathan Richman beautifully sings about, being stripped away when you're older. You could tap back into that, early 20s mindset and drink a Leinenkugel and be taken to a warm place. Whether you're hanging out at the bar, whether you're grilling on the deck, I hope Vinny's grilling a ton of meat right now, drinking beer. The man has nothing to do. It's the holidays coming up. So, man, I hope he's enjoying a Leinenkugel right now. You can really just enjoy Leinenkugel now that Summer Shandy's available all year round. For over 150 years, Leinenkugel has combined German brewing traditions with Wisconsin innovation. You don't have to pick just one. Leinenkugel also has popular variety packs that come with 4 favorites to try and enjoy. Flavor every moment with Leinenkugel, the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to Leine.com, Leini.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's Leine.com/CHGO. Or pick up Leinenkugels pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Leinenkugels, flavor the moment, celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls. Yes. Does not feel the same. That sucked. All right. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you are subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel if you feel so nicely too. We do have a super chat from our pal Peyton, so let's get to that first. A $5 super chat. Going to miss Herb and Vinnie immensely, but as long as you are carrying the torch on, I'll be tuning in for every Sox video. Best of luck. I appreciate that very deeply, Peyton. Peyton is a diehard, and I know that they're popping in to other White Sox podcasts as well, whether it be Future Sox 108. Peyton is a true diehard. And AJ is absolutely correct. Finding a way to blame Tony and Jerry is vintage CHGO White Sox. I'm going to go out the proper way. The show's not even over, so I'm still have time. I'm still going to be here to blast Tony. I'm still going to be here to blast Jerry. I'm still going to be the voice for you people. And at least the voice that I want to project is one that really hates Jerry Reinsdorf and Tony La Russa. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind scrolling up. Actually, I got it right here. I want to read Connor Smith's comments here. Connor was on our show before, and he's a lifelong friend of Vinnie Duber. And Connor said, the chemistry you three had can't be matched. More than any show on this network, the CHGO White Sox podcast felt like the audience was the collective fourth seat at the bar next to you guys. More so than anyone at CHGO, Vinnie brought an old-school journalism mindset. He never let himself become a fan, a rarity in streaming sports content world. You three made a perfect generation combo. And then Connor said that he's rooting for me, but I did want to read this too. Herb made me legit LOL consistently, ranging from the time he spilled beer and frantically tried to clean it up with his cupped hands to declaring he was afraid of the film I Am Legend. Connor, you always have a very, very poignant way of words, and I really do appreciate that. And I agree that, or it makes me very happy and accomplished that you guys felt like you were the fourth seat at the bar just listening to us have conversations. That has always been every single sports show's goal. Any sports show that they are putting on ESPN, 670 The Score, Barstool, CHGO, they want you to just not even realize you're listening to a show, just having it on in the background, talking with your friends or listening to your friends talk. And if you want to throw in a comment, you get to throw in a comment and be a part of the conversation. That is always what I've tried to create here at CHGO. That was always my goal as the host, was to facilitate conversation, not only between me, Herb, and Vinnie, but me, Herb, Vinnie, and you. No matter who you are, if you have something negative to say, positive to say, this is the CHGO White Sox show where we try to figure out how the hell to be fans of this White Sox team. And to hear that, Brandon thinks that the White Sox, or we care more about the White Sox than the White Sox care about the White Sox. I don't know if that is true, just because there is no show. The show is gone. And if we truly did, as an all-city company, care about the White Sox, there would be a show. And I mean that as respectfully as possible. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes when it comes to investors, CEOs, etc. I don't. I know some of the work ethic of some people above me, and I don't know if that was consistently matched by the people that were in here covering beats on a day-to-day basis. And it seems like that's the reason this is happening, is because the full vision that we expected was not backed 100%. Seems like it was back 98%, and that 2% killed us. So it is brutal, the place that we are in. I do have some White Sox talk coming up. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. The 117 that are currently in there, the 50 likes, hit that thumbs up button. We do appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out through all of these comments as well what to go through. Is there any other things that you favorited, Sarah, that I should get to before we move on to Matt Thaiss or Bryse Wilson? AJ said the dynamic y'all had was perfect. Logos, ethos, pathos, vibes. I do not speak Latin or Greek, but I appreciate that.
It's the journalism's, what is it? The journalism terms for what is it? Logos and ethos and pathos is all just like emotions that like when you read stuff, it allows you to like, it's different dynamics that create like a good story.
Gotcha. You really did listen to Vinnie.
Well,
you gleaned a lot from Vinnie.
I learned that in school too.
Okay, all right, there you go. Just final things I want to say to Vinnie and Herb or about them. I have a ton to racking through my brain. But James Fegan said this, and I thought this just kind of shows the respect that Vinnie has built up for him as a professional. This is not his only stop. He's been covering the Chicago White Sox and even the Royals as well. He's been a beat writer for 12 plus years now. And what James said was, my friend Vinnie Duber is truly someone who lifts the quality of coverage in the city. He puts everyone, players, coaches, reporters, PR staff, at ease while shooting them straight. It's a rare gift that matters, even if short-sighted media executives pretend it doesn't. And Daryl Van Schouwen, who's also a part of that beat, says that a pro in the truest sense of word is good as what he... Vinnie is a pro in the truest sense of word, good at what he does, a great person to be around. I think the fact that Vinnie, before tweeting out a notes app or a goodbye or the thank you to all the words, Vinnie Duber tweeted out that Bryse Wilson was signing with the Chicago White Sox at 2 p.m. after he had a call with our bosses that said, you're no longer going to be around. He said, Sox signed veteran righty pitcher Bryse Wilson to a one-year deal, major league deal worth $1.05 million. Wilson had a 4.04 ERA and 34 appearances last season, 9 of which were starts. They also sent Chuckie Robinson to the Angels in cash for going on for an ongoing game of musical chairs. It just an intense intense and true professional. And I hope we do not lose Vinnie's voice on the beat. I will never try to force them to come on to the show because, again, they were fired by this company. But I really do hope that both of them find their voice in the White Sox media landscape. I took over the Lockdown White Sox podcast from Vinnie and Herb, and then Nick Morowski took it over from me, and now Todd's doing it. But the whole reason my fandom for the White Sox was rekindled and resparked was because of Herb and Chris's passion. I used to listen that 2020 season to every single recap. I knew what time they consistently posted at, so I would wait until like 12:35 for their episode to be posted up, so then I could listen to their reaction right after, and they touched on exactly what a White Sox podcast should be. And I think the fact that Herb was able to bring that over to this podcast shows how connected he is with the White Sox community, how connected he is with White Sox fans, and how personable he is. And I think that any media outlet can benefit from that type of personality. And I feel like that is where sports media will be going, or personalities like that, because most people can sit here and grandstand and stand on their soapbox and talk for hours and hours and hours. And hey, you could do your little, rants and minute little spiels like Danny Parkins does on breakfast breakfast ball, whatever it's called on FS1. But Herb Lawrence can actually connect to you. And I'm not saying Danny can't, but like Herb Lawrence was able to connect with White Sox fans. And we saw that every single takeover that we did. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. I'm going to try to read all the comments. I obviously am doing a lot here. KCBI10 said, I'm normally an audio listener, but this one seemed more important. You guys were the only source of Sox news I followed for obvious reasons, and love your team. And your love for the team really came through. So I really appreciate that, KCBI. If you are looking for alternative Sox coverage, I will still be here, but obviously it's not going to be the same show. I did a solo show for Lockdown Sox for like 3 months. But this is not my wheelhouse. This is not my forte. I've always loved the thought of doing a show and talking on air, but much rather have my friends along with me. If you are looking for other content, I believe there's 21 active White Sox podcasts currently going on, and it's not that I believe. I actually have the list of all White Sox podcasts going on. I can't find it right now, but you have Sox Machine, which I think is the place that you should start if you are looking for alternatives. Josh, Jim, and James, Triple J, all do a fantastic and wonderful job on a weekly to bi-weekly basis covering the White Sox. They have a depth of knowledge. I think Jim's been covering it for 13 years. It might be 15 years. He's been on the White Sox beat for a very long time. Josh has been doing this podcast since 2017. And obviously James Fegan, originally with The Athletic, now bouncing over to Sox Machine. Thankfully, he's found a home. They do fantastic work. So if you are looking for another White Sox voice, that is a great place to start. I love Future Sox, the wealth of knowledge that they have, the consistent amount of voices that they have, whether it be Jeff and Elijah, Jeff and Dylan, obviously Ian and James. They do consistently great work on like the nittiest of the grittiest. So congratulations to them. And the fact that they're able to find so much content is extremely surprising, and just, credit to their hard work. Also from the 108, a little bit more lighthearted. I think something that we've always tried to like mimic. We always wanted to be three good friends, and that's what we wanted it to come off of. And Chirizi, Beef Loaf, and My Sox Summer are that, and they have been that for a very long time. Obviously, there's some different segments that are not White Sox related on from the 108 podcast. So hey, maybe it's not always your go-to podcast, but they do, when they do White Sox talk, really do a fantastic job. And even My Sox Summer is becoming a wealth of baseball knowledge. So absolutely fantastic job by them. The other ones I do want to shout out, obviously Lockdown Sox, if you are looking for something a little bit more daily. If you're looking for something a little bit more condensed, Sox in the Basement does a really good condensed 30-minute podcast. Sox on 35th. I love Jordan Lazowski's takes. And then also Good Guys Talk Back. There's several Nick Morawski podcasts. He was the guy that I chose to replace me on Locked On Sox. I love listening to him. I love listening to Pat Hester. I know him and Danny, I think, have taken a break from Heaters. What is it? Hot Takes and Heaters. But they were also fantastic as well. So make sure that if you are looking for other voices, you support those podcasts. And just to William, start a new Sox pod, get the band together. I still have a job. I am still paid by CHGO to do a White Sox podcast. So I will still be doing a White Sox podcast. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. All right. I got to let you know about our friends over at Family Farms. Over there on our deck, our deck is sponsored by Family Farms. During Bears halftime, they do a lovely Family Farms report out there. And Family Farms' culinary journey is woven with passion, dedication, and a commitment to crafting the finest bacon-wrapped chicken, a timeless delicacy that has tantalized taste buds since 1974. Join them on this flavorful adventure where every bite tells a story of tradition, quality, and the enduring spirit of Family Farms. The tradition now continues. You can find Family Farms bacon-wrapped chicken even easier. You can look for them in the meat department at your local Woodman's, Mariano's, or Burkott's. And if you're craving a taste of home without leaving yours, check out baconwrapchicken.com or click on the link for our amazing Amazon store, which includes the legendary Rocky Rococo's Italian sausage, and find out when our new amazing Cajun Nation flavors will become available with an authentic Louisiana bite. Experience the flavor that's becoming a family favorite for generations. Visit your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, Burkott's, or on Amazon, and you can check out their website, baconwrapchicken.com. Here's a little ditty I want to tell you. It's about our friends over at ComEd. Did you know ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficiency? Wow, Sean,
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I did not know.
Oh, you didn't know, Sarah. The energy efficiency program can help you find up to 35% in savings.
Wow. That's great.
It is great. All you have to do is just sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
Did you say ComEd.com/biz?
Oh, I did say ComEd.com/biz. You could see it on the lower third there. ComEd.com/biz. 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 Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
I love ComEd.
I love ComEd as well.
They're my people who bill me what is it? They're my electric bill every month.
Yeah, I think they provide electric to everyone in Chicago.
Oh, do they? Oh, I didn't know that.
I think so.
I thought I was just special.
No, well, if you are special, I'm also special. So maybe we're just both special there. Okay. Let's continue. I do have Matt Thaiss talk. I do have Bryse Wilson talk. Sarah, if there's anything else that you've starred, maybe let's go through that, and then we'll wrap up the Herb and Vinnie segment of this. I will be doing a White Sox town hall in the Discord channel right after this. So if you do want to talk White Sox and you are a diehard, jump into that voice chat. I'll be there at 5 p.m. If you have any specific questions that you want to ask, you can ask me. I understand that not everyone is a diehard, and I understand that right now is not the time to push diehard subscriptions. So if you are a part of that, please let me know. And if you still have any other questions, leave them in the chat here. I'm on social media at Sean_W_Anderson on X, Twitter, and then what's it called? Underscores. No underscores on Blue Sky. So just Sean W. Anderson on Blue Sky. All right. Melissa said it's important now than ever to support Chicago sports content creators. Big media is gobbling up a lot of good folks. I do agree with that, Melissa, but also I don't even know if big media exists anymore. TV really isn't that much of a powerhouse. CHSN can't even get picked up by Xfinity. 670 The Score is fine. Like I really appreciate what I've been able to accomplish at The Score. I appreciate all the opportunities that The Score given me, but I don't think that, especially if you look at Odyssey's stock, that company, that big company, is doing all right. Same with ESPN 1000. Same with Good Karma Brands. Like they're doing fine, but it does feel like CHGO was on the front lines of what media should be. It should be fans of that sport talking passionately about that team. And that's why it was so easy to sign up with CHGO at the start. I was doing a podcast thing before this called Most Valuable Podcasts. We kind of leaned into that. It wasn't team specific, and maybe that was our fault, but it was the whole idea of creating this community, creating this outreach, creating a place for diehards. And I think it's a really great idea. I just don't think that we can, I don't think that we executed it. I mean, clearly, if we're in this spot, we didn't do enough in the 2.5 years. And that's the biggest disappointment for me, because I really did think that this, or I do think that this is the future of media. I'm not sure if this is going to be the end, but confidence has been shaken. That's for sure. CHGO falling off. You guys are bums. Free Nick Moriano. I agree. Free Nick Moriano. He was great. Can we go back to the starred channels? Rogue Wave saying, not trying to be mean because it sucks. Herb is one of my favorite people ever. I've worked in the podcast arena. You guys have this many commercials and not money, then you have issues. Yes. One of the people that were fired was the head of sales. And we've had 3 head of sales. So I think that explains it for you right there. Rogue Wave Creative. I think that every single person on their beat, whether it's Nick, Greg, Cody, Luke, Alex on the Fire and Red Stars, these people give their all every single day to give you content. And it's not hard. It's not difficult. It's a job that we love and appreciate and are happy to have. And I do feel like there are people in this building that have let us down. So you're right, Rogue Wave. And I wish those people did their job so Herb could be here. And Vinnie too. Lee saying, you guys were a must-watch whether the Sox are beating the Yankees in a cornfield or are the worst team in professional sports. Go get them, Sean. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. Any other comments that stuck out to you before we get in? Because, I mean, I can talk about Matt Thaiss very easily. Kevin Russell said, no knock on Sean. Every time he was absent, I felt like this pod wasn't complete when it was just Herb and Vinnie and vice versa. When someone was missing, it doesn't feel right. CHGO is trending now. I can't support a company that uses people to get off the ground and fire people before Christmas. I understand, Kevin, and I also agree with you. It didn't feel the same when it was just Herb and Vinnie. It didn't feel the same when it was just me and Vinnie. It didn't feel the same when it was just me and Herb. What made this show go and what made this show, I thought, unique and interesting, not to the Reddit community. Apparently, the Reddit community hated us and we were polarizing to Reddit. But I do feel like we brought a really unique perspective. And it's sad that this is not going to be coming on. All right. If there's anything else that you guys have, leave it in the comments. I'll try to catch up with it. I'll get into some Matt Thaiss talk. I jokingly said on Tuesday night, emergency pod, Matt Thaiss acquired from the Chicago Cubs for cash considerations. And man, should I have taken that opportunity? I could have done one more podcast with Vinnie and Herb. So we should have done a Matt Thaiss podcast. I have some thoughts on Thaiss, and I'm going to share it to you now. I think the biggest thing about Thaiss is he will be the backup catcher. I know some people said that Corey Lee will likely be on the opening day roster. I mean, I saw Dylan at Not Cease put him into the minor leagues, having Quero make the opening day roster. But I think it's probably very poignant that Quero and Teel have more time in AAA. Quero showed that his bat played at AAA, but I think just a little bit more than, I think, the 28 games that he played. I could be mixing up Teal's number there. He just needs a little bit more of development. And plus, what's the rush? Why are you going to start the 6 years of service time at the start on opening day? Right now, you have Corey Lee and Matt Thaiss who could hold it down for at least April. And I think that's what's going to happen. Chuckie Robinson seems like a very nice guy. Glad he got his opportunity with the Chicago White Sox. He was one of the worst hitters in Chicago White Sox history and not a viable backup on a major league roster. So the fact that they're able to get rid of Chuckie still has a job. He's with the Angels. And they're able to upgrade to Thaiss, who over the past 2 years has been an 80 OPS plus hitter. Not great, but again, he's a catcher. He's a backup catcher. So if he could be more 80 OPS plus than like Chuckie's negative 20, great. If he could be better than Martin Maldonado's 5 OPS plus, great. I think Corey Lee and Matt Thaiss give you a pretty solid baseline. I think that you are going to get decent hitting or above average hitting from at least a catcher from these two players combined. And I'm really intrigued to see what Walker McKinnon can do with Corey Lee behind the plate. His pop time's been phenomenal, but can he have a little bit stronger of an arm? Can he be a little bit better of a framer? Can he be a better blocker? These are all things that Walker McKinven is going to have to do, and I wonder what he can do with Thaiss. Thaiss has done very well throughout his career in blocking balls, which I think everyone and every White Sox fan can exclaim, thank God we have a catcher that can finally block some balls behind the plate. But the one thing that he has struggled with, at least from a catching standpoint, is framing. Can Walker McKinven come in and tweak anything with Thaiss or Lee to make them better catchers? Because, again, the important thing is we can all see 2026, it seems like Edgar Quero and Kyle T will be the catchers for the Chicago White Sox. So, in that short April to May run span, can Walker McKinven get something out of Thaiss, something out of Corey Lee to make them intriguing enough to flip? I think these are two people that could be flipped. They seem average catchers enough, and catcher is such a dry spot that if you have a guy that can hit 5 to 7 home runs, 12 home runs at the catcher position, he's a guy that can make his way into a major league lineup. So I am excited about this move. I think it's a smart move. We've been wondering what veteran catcher they will bring in, and maybe there will be more on NRI, non-roster invite, spring training invites sort of deals. But I would fully expect Matt Thaiss to be the backup catcher to Corey Lee in 2025, at least to start opening day. He makes $1 million a year, Matt Thaiss, so not a huge bump, about $200K than we originally expected. So the Sox right now with, I think, 2 batting positions open, and now with Bryse Wilson, I think 1 more pitcher arm. It seems like there's 3 spots they still have to fill out, and I think they're clearly going to be under $75 million. I have a bet currently going on with Beatloaf that no player this offseason will be signed for more than $6.2 million. I think we're just going to end up calling it 6, what Andrew Vaughn's being paid. And I think it's really coming into that area. I don't see them making a splash. I don't even see them wading into the waters. I think they're going to try to get guys that they think they can flip, that they think they can lift up, and I think it's going to be a fairly cheap operation for 2025. I don't know who they would exactly spend $6 million on, because guy that we're going to talk about later in Wilson and Shane Smith, those are guys that can be both starters and relievers. We already have Jared Schuster as well, who could be a starter or a reliever. So it seems like they have pitching options. I don't think going out and getting a Chad inning eater, and I'm very thankful to be able to teach Vinnie that term of Chad inning eater before he left. I don't think that a Chad inning eater is in our future. It seems very possible that the bulk of this pitching staff will be this pitching staff, and the only tweaks that they will have are if Ron Marinaccio or Gus Varlin, who you'll meet in a second, if they kind of fall off a little bit. I think those are the only pieces that can be switched and interchanged, because the way that this current team looks, I think, is what you're going to see at opening day. I'll read that off, and then we will get into some Gus Varlin talk, and then some Bryce Miller talk, and we'll have some fun here at the last 15 minutes. Catcher, opening day catcher, I think it will be Corey Lee. He's making $800K. First base, that will be Andrew Vaughn, making $6.2 million. Second base, I think it's Lenin Sosa, the dominant force in the Venezuelan Winter League. He's making $800K. I think Chase Mydroth has a shot. I don't know if it'll be the opening day shortstop, but I think he has a shot to make the opening day roster. I'll put him at $800K as well. He's making league minimum. Third base would be Vargas and Ramos with the split. They're both making $800K. Left field, Benintendi for $17.1 mil. Robert for $15 mil. Talkman for $1.95 mil. Slater's on the bench for $1.7 mil. Thaiss is now on the bench for $1 mil. And then you also have Brooks Baldwin, who we can assume is on the roster. So you have one open hitter spot right now, and the current salary is at $66 million. And honestly, with the Bryce Miller signing, you could probably say that their entire rotation is filled. I'll talk to you a little bit more about Bryce Miller. But as Vinnie said in his tweet, he ends up signing for $1.05 million. That puts the Sox, if this is their opening day roster with one hitter left to sign, at $67 million. I don't think that they get to a $75 million payroll. And I think I end up winning that bet with Beefloaf. And I think, thankfully, someone will buy me lunch. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. Let's get into meeting some of the players. We look at this bullpen: Justin Anderson, Steven Wilson, Shane Smith, Prelander Baroa, Ron Marinaccio, Jared Schuster, Frazier Ellard, Gus Varland. Gus Varland was a name that Patrick Nolan, editor over at Sox Machine, did not know. And thankfully, the social media team of the Chicago White Sox let us know exactly who Gus Varland is. So, Sarah, let's try to share that screen and show them who Gus Varland is, because the White Sox made a pretty fun video here on X.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. My name's Gus Varland, and I'm a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox. I'm a real person. There's my nameplate right there at my locker. And here's some fun facts about me. My full name is Augustus James Varland, and I graduated from Concordia St. Paul University, and I made my Major League debut in 2023. When I'm not catching up on my reading, I like to play video games, but I do go outside. I like to go ice fishing in Minnesota. I'll take 1 large pepperoni, please. Tavern style. I also have a brother in the MLB. His name is Louie, and he plays for the Minnesota Twins. Thanks for getting to know me. I'll see you around, eh? Was it good?
See you around there, eh? We appreciate that from the Chicago White Sox. Nice to see a little bit of personality, and it's going to be impossible for me to not call him Augustus. There's no way that you're going to use your full name and it be Augustus and me not just call you Augustus. I learned from the best. I learned from Herb Lawrence, so there's no way that Gus Varland is ever going to be referred to as Gus Varland anymore. We will use his full, real, proper name that his family gave him, and he will be Augustus James Varland. So Augustus James Varland will likely be your closer for the 2025 season. All right, let's get into some Bryse Miller talk. I know this is what you guys came from. I know this is what you guys were just waiting with bated breath for. Bryse Wilson was signed by the Chicago White Sox on a major league deal for $1.05 million. He has been both a reliever and a starter in his career, and pretty unsurprisingly, Bryse Miller with an S, B-R-Y-S-E. Is it not Bryse Miller? Jeez. Bryse Miller? Bryse Wilson. There it is. Bryse Wilson. I'm thinking of Bryse Miller, who's on the actual Mariners. That's my fault. Bryse Wilson has pitched with the Milwaukee Brewers for the past 2 seasons, and then prior to that, he started his career with the Atlanta Braves, was moved in 2021 to Pittsburgh, so played a split season in Atlanta and Pittsburgh in 2021, went to Pittsburgh in 2022, and has been with Milwaukee over the past 2 years. Over the past 2 years, he's been pretty good for the Milwaukee Brewers. A 1.24 ERA plus. He had started 9 games for them. In 2023, he was strictly just a reliever, a 2.58 ERA for him, a 1.67 ERA plus. Started a couple more games in 2024, a 4.04 ERA, 104 2/3 innings pitched, 9 games started. But the one thing that does stick out when you look at those games started, there's like 2 of them that are 5 earned runs and 7 earned runs, and then the other 7 are all right. So even that ERA as a starter is a little bit inflated because of the small sample size. I don't know if he will be a starter, but could he be a guy that gives you 2 innings out of the bullpen? Maybe that ends up being his role. He's like most pitchers. When you move him to the bullpen, he's able to throw harder, he's able to throw faster, and he's able to focus on throwing 10 pitches, not 75, and it's more about, let me throw my 10 best pitches rather than how do I get to the 6th inning. His stuff isn't really dominant. He throws 3 fastballs that all sit around like 94, 92, but this is a guy that I really do think is an interesting pickup, because if they do go full reliever spot, I think he could be a really great reliever. And this could be a John Brebbia pickup that costs $4.5 million less, and you'd actually be able to trade Bryse Wilson, not Bryse Miller. Got to make sure that's clear there. Bryse Wilson at the deadline, because he's only costing $500K because you're already halfway through the season, and not Brebbia's like $2.5 million when Brebbia's got a 5 ERA. I think the one thing too from Bryse, and Sarah, if you want to flash the Bryse Wilson, I'm not going to say Miller, Bryse Wilson graph here, is you could see from his pitches, the cutter is pretty MLB average, sinker pretty MLB average. The 4-seam has not a ton of run or ride, so it doesn't have that sharp like break in towards right-handed pitchers off of his right-handed arm. So not a ton of movement on that 4-seamer. He's like a typical major league pitcher, though. He throws that 4-seamer high up in the zone. I think it's an interesting pickup for Bannister, though, because Bannister talks similar about Wikelman Gonzalez, that Wikelman has 2 fastballs that if he adds a sinker, it would maybe take away from the control issues you're seeing because you're not being able to guess which of the 3 fastballs it is. So Miller does have an interesting perspective from there, the fact that he has a cutter, sinker, and 4-seamer that he's focusing as his 3 main pitches. And those cutter and sinker too, obviously the sinker's going to go into a righty, the cutter's going to go away from a lefty, and then you have that 4-seamer coming down the middle. It's tough to really square up any of these pitches. Not a huge ground ball rate from Bryce, but also he doesn't walk a ton, so he's able to at least induce weak contact. But if you want to go back to that graphic one more time, Sarah, I know you had it up for there a bit. I'm interested what that curveball becomes. You see that faded blue dot there? This is comparing him to the MLB average. And you could see that that curveball has a ton of movement to the first base side, a ton of run. And I wonder if they think they can figure out some sort of sweeper for Bryse Wilson. I think that can make him an upper echelon reliever. And you see the nature of that movement from that curve. It's very sweepy. I think if a grip is changed, a curveball or a sweeper that has some seam-shifted wake effects could be possible for Wilson. He threw a slider in 2022 along with that curveball, and it seems like he's found out his pitch mix a little bit more, but I do wonder still if it could be refined a bit. And I think it's possible that Bryse Wilson could be a refined pickup for the Chicago White Sox. So I like the pickup from Bryse Wilson. It's obviously cheap, and that's what the White Sox are looking to do in 2025. So yay. And with that, with them being so cheap, BetMGM threw out the win props for all the American League Centrals and all the MLB teams. And the White Sox started off at 500-1 to win the AL Central. I have great news for you. It's now 2,500 or 250-1. All right. So we've seen it be cut in half here. So maybe there's a chance, but the win totals were posted by BetMGM. The win total for the 2025 Chicago White Sox over-under is 49.5. We talked a lot with the nature of the historic badness of the 2024 White Sox, how impossible it is to lose 110-plus games, how impossible it is to lose 115 games, and somehow they lost 121. That's with 2 managers. That's with consistent changing of talent as well. Players that were injured, whether it be Moncada, Aloy, Robert, like you thought those guys were going to make a bigger impact, and they just didn't. I think with this team, I would take the over. If it moves up to 51.5, I'd be cautious to take the over. But looking at the history of these odds, Colin Whitchurch of Action Network went back all the way to 1990 and tried to find the lowest win prop out there, and it was 57.5. Thank you to Josh Nelson for that stat. It was 57.5. So you're about 8 off from that? I don't think they're going to be this bad. I think there is more of an idea. I'm wondering where they're going to score runs like a major league team. Last year, they scored 504. The 2019 was like 604. So like a 94-run difference between you and the second to last place team is pretty despicable. I don't know exactly where those runs are going to come from, but they're trying to get on base more. That's what you're showing you with Tauchman and Slater. And hopefully they could see that more from Benintendi and Vaughn, and you'd see the lineup flipping over a little bit. AJ saying, we said the same thing last year, do not be fooled. And I literally do not know what he's talking about, because we've talked about so many things about not getting fooled that I am just so fooled. I am so fooled. I don't even know what I'm fooled about. So I agree with you, AJ. We said that last year, but also nothing has ever come to fruition. They lost 120 games. So I'd take the over, but if you're being a pessimist, be a pessimist. I'm
still going to bring my optimism, and you never know what the Sox will do.
You never know what the Sox will do. That is absolutely true. They did announce the change of the field from guaranteed rate field to rate field. That's mainly just because the company Guaranteed Rate Field thought that people found it too difficult to find the word, spell the word guarantee. So now it's just rate field. I don't have too many issues with that. It's just a name. It's the same damn place. I don't understand why it has to be breaking news on CHSN.
I personally don't like it.
They changed the name.
I think it's I just think it's stupid.
Rate field?
Yeah, because it's like.
But like, what, American Family Insurance Field sounds better?
No, but it's like you're just taking like it's like, oh, people can't spell guaranteed, so let's just make it rate. Let's change all the logos. Let's change, like they're just trying to change something to say they're changing something.
I do agree with you. It's branding for branding's sake, and also too, like, Google is pretty advanced. If you type in G, a bunch of misshapen letters, rate.
We have AI now.
I think it will come in. Exactly. You have AI now. AI now can just figure out what you would like to spell. All right. The final other news that we do have, Andre, let me make sure I'm saying this right because I'm the only damn person saying this, and I'm the only person who can get blamed. Andre Lipsius. Andre Lipsius is a 26-year-old, born May 22nd, 1998. I am very shocked this man is younger than me. He looks old, respectfully. He's out of the University of Tennessee. Was there for 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019, then ended up being drafted in the third round of the MLB draft by the Detroit Tigers. 2019 was his first year of minor league ball, and obviously it was a shortened year of minor league ball because he's just coming out of college. In those 67 games in A-ball in 2019, 273, 344, 360, not a ton of pop, but then he completely misses, as everyone did, the minor league season for 2020. And then in 2021, he gets it promoted to Advanced A, and you also see a promotion to Double A. And I think it's very positive that in the 22 games in Advanced A, he's able to go from a 360 slugging to a 482 slugging, get that promotion. He did fine in Erie in 2021, but then in 2022, 264, 393, 426. It's a guy that can get on base. At least the more recent examples, he was with Detroit in 2023, played a little bit in AAA, 272, 363, 419 slugging, played a little bit, 13 games with the major league team, 286, 343, 400 slugging, was cut by Detroit, picked up on a minor league option by the Dodgers last year, 140 games in Oklahoma City, 271, 351, 458. Obviously, the PCL is a little, it's definitely inflated when it comes to offensive environment. So I wouldn't take Lipsius as a 458 slugger, but it is a guy that is going to be in a very friendly ballpark, and you can flash that, Sarah, the spray chart. You could see that there is some pop to the right side, but he's 6 feet tall. He's 190. He could play a decent amount of positions as well. He could play first, second, third base. I think he could play the outfield as well. There was a write-up by Eric Longenhagen of Fangraphs saying he was he can play all over the diamond and make an average rate of contact. He's a fine replacement player, but it's tough envisioning holding down a spot on a good team. And thankfully for Andre, he's on a bad team. So there you go. You might see some Andre coming for you in 2025. I think it's a replacement of a Zach Remillard, if you will. So I don't think it's a great signing, as in, this guy is going to be a redemption project, but he's interesting. I mean, he can walk, so I wonder if they think that they can add a different type of approach to him, maybe sell out a little less for power and go for a little bit more contact. You could be, striking out less than you are walking. If he's able to walk a little bit, maybe that's interesting. And just the fact that he can play first, second, third, and it even seems like the corners as well, left or right, that seems like it's what's going to be the case. And then finally, Michael Soroka, former friend, signed with the Washington Nationals for $9 million. Again, going back to what I said earlier, I don't think it's possible that the White Sox end up signing anyone for more than $6 million to surpass Andrew Vaughn's salary. And some people are like, some people were, I think Jared Seidler of Baseball Prospectus said that there's people that are either surprised Soroka didn't get more in a player option or that he wasn't getting an NRI because the splits between him and a starter and him and a reliever are very, very, very drastic. And the Nationals seemingly are paying Mike Soroka as a starter, but maybe because we've heard that there were a lot of team interested, that they just want to make sure they get the guy. Maybe they start him as a starter and see what he can do. And then if it doesn't work, they know that they can get a decent middle leverage reliever with a pretty nasty slider. But this is a guy, again, that has the ability to start. And I think if you see Bryse Wilson, the fact that that's happening the day before the Mike Soroka signing, I think it shows you where the White Sox will be sending. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We understand everyone and appreciate everyone's understanding and comments today. If you are upset, I am too. if you are sad, I am too. This is not what this channel was made for, Louie. You are correct. Silly solo podcasts are not the intention of this brand. I will do my best to be entertaining for an hour and make sure that when we have a show, it is full and packed, and it will allow me to talk freely about the White Sox for an hour. But this is obviously not the news we wanted to be delivering you today. I am saddened for my friends Herb and Vinnie. They will go on to do fantastic and great things because they are wonderful and advanced people. But I will be very sad to not be seeing them every single day. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. She's been a huge help to all of us here at CHGO, but specifically over the past year against the White Sox. So thank you very much for being here and being my buddy. Appreciate you.
We still have lots of great stuff in the works, and we are nowhere near ending what we do here at all. And CHGO has a vision, and we are going to move forward and continue to touch the lives of sports fans here in Chicago.
We'll keep growing. We'll see where this ends up taking us. We appreciate all the people that have liked this video and have subscribed. I really do appreciate everyone giving me the opportunity to explain myself. And again, for the diehards that have any additional questions, I will be in the Discord answering those questions right after the show wraps. So I will see you in there, and we will talk to you next week here on the CHGO White Sox podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.